Welcome to The Deep Dive,
Yeah.
the show where we really try to cut through the noise of the tech world. Today, we've got a pretty fascinating stack of sources. We're looking at everything from, well, these secretive labs trying to use AI to basically revolutionize medicine, all the way to tiny nuclear reactors, if you can believe it,
Yeah.
and even totally new ways to communicate, like without the internet at all.
Quite the range.
Exactly. So our mission, like always, is to dig through all this and pull out the really insightful bits, the surprising stuff, the things you actually need to know, basically give you that shortcut to being properly informed.
Cutting through the hype.
That's the idea. Get ready for, hopefully, some aha moments, maybe some unexpected links between all these different pieces of tech. Okay, let's dive in. So we're starting big. Really big, almost science fiction big, actually. It's Alphabet's secretive drug discovery group, Isomorphic Labs. Now, this isn't just some random startup. It came directly out of DeepMind's huge breakthrough, AlphaFold. You probably remember that. The AI that predicts protein structures like magic.
With astonishing accuracy, yeah. And what's really fascinating here, I think, isn't just that the AI is capable, it's how fast things are moving. Like from these theoretical models, these predictions, to actual human trials.
Human trials already.
They're gearing up for it. Isomorphic Labs isn't just publishing papers, they're planning to test drugs designed by AI in people. And their goal, well, it's audacious.
Okay, hit me with it.
They want to solve all diseases.
Wow. Okay. That's ambitious doesn't quite cover it.
It's incredibly bold, no question, but it connects to this bigger idea that's floating around called therapeutic abundance. You know, the idea that discovering new medicines might not be so slow and painful anymore.
Right, because AI could speed it all up.
Potentially reverse that decline we've seen in R&D productivity in pharma. It's not just faster discovery, it's a whole different way of thinking. Maybe moving from just managing diseases to actually, getting rid of them could change everything. Global health, lifespans. It's hard to even grasp the scale.
Solve all diseases.
Yeah.
I mean, that phrase alone just speaks volumes about the potential here. But, AI's influence isn't always that grand or even intentional, is it?
No. Sometimes it's actually kind of funny, unexpected.
Exactly. Like this story with SoundSlice. They're a service, they scan sheet music from photos, right?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
So their team starts seeing all these weird error logs popping up. Users asking for something called ASCII tablature.
ASCII tablature, like text-based guitar tabs.
Pretty much. And here's the kicker. ChatGPT was just making it up. Hallucinating, basically. It was telling users SoundSlice had this feature.
Which it absolutely didn't.
Not at all. But instead of just, telling users, sorry, the AI is wrong, the SoundSlice team looked at it and, get this, they decided to build a feature.
Wait, really? Because the AI suggested it.
Because the AI hallucinated it.
Yeah.
It's a wild turn. What does that even mean for product development? Like, are we going to let AI errors drive innovation now? Or is it just showing a weird new way to find out what people might actually want?
Well, that's a really important question, isn't it? It's more than just a funny story. It shows how AI's, let's call it misinformation, can actually end up shaping a product's future.
Yeah.
AI is moving from just being a tool we use to being this interactive agent. It shapes how users behave, and apparently it can even influence what companies decide to build next.
And it's not always accidental either. We're seeing AI get woven much more deeply into things, like ChatGPT testing a study together mode.
Oh, yeah. How does that work?
Instead of just giving you answers, it asks you questions. Tries to make learning more interactive, I guess. More effective, maybe?
Interesting.
And then there's Google's Gemini AI. It's getting default access to third-party apps on Android phones, unless you specifically go in and opt out.
So it's embedding itself deeper and deeper.
Right. And sometimes it feels like we're the ones having to adapt to it,
If you connect all these dots, AI isn't just a utility anymore. It's an interactive force. It's shaping our behavior, corporate strategy, feature development. It's becoming an active participant, not just a background helper. Definitely something we need to keep a really close eye on.
Okay, speaking of things shaping our lives, let's shift gears a bit. From AI's digital world to something very physical. Connectivity.
Yeah.
Infrastructure. And it's coming from, well, maybe an unexpected place. Jack Dorsey.
Twitter co-founder Jack Dorsey, what's he up to now?
A new thing called BitChat. The idea is a totally decentralized peer-to-peer messaging app. And here's the really wild part. It works entirely over Bluetooth mesh networks.
No internet needed.
No internet.
Oh.
No central servers, no phone numbers, no emails, nothing. just devices talking directly to each other.
Okay, how does it even work practically? Bluetooth range is pretty short.
Right, but it uses a mesh concept. So nearby devices create these little clusters. They pass messages along, device to device, like a digital chain.
Ah, so it extends the range beyond standard Bluetooth.
Exactly. Even if there's no Wi-Fi, no cell signal. The communication is ephemeral. It disappears and encrypted. Messages only live on your device, never on some company's server. It's still in beta, I think, but the implications, huge.
Yeah, you can immediately see the significance. Privacy, obviously, with no central data store. That's huge for you, the listener.
Yeah.
But also resilience, right?
Totally.
Think about places with bad internet or emergencies. Natural disasters, blackouts, maybe even conflict zones where networks are down or censored.
A system like this could keep communication lines open, vital connections when nothing else works.
Absolutely. This kind of decentralized approach, it really could be a model for future communication. Less fragile, less dependent on that big traditional infrastructure we rely on now.
And, from communication to power, there's kind of a similar trend happening. This move towards decentralization, localized solutions. Get ready for this one. The U.S. Department of Energy, they're planning to test nuclear reactors that are smaller than a semi-truck.
Microreactors, I've read a bit about those.
Yeah. They've conditionally picked 2 for testing at the Idaho National Lab, aiming for early 2026. One's from Westinghouse, it's called Da Vinci, trailer-sized, puts out 5 megawatts. The other's from Radiant, called Kaleidos, even smaller, 1.2 megawatts.
Wow. So these aren't for powering whole cities, obviously. What's the niche?
Exactly. They're designed for small, remote places. Think isolated communities, maybe military bases off the grid, or even disaster relief efforts where you need reliable power fast.
Okay, that makes sense. Deployable, self-contained power.
Right. And it fits into this bigger push we're seeing, doesn't it? Moving away from just relying on massive centralized power grids.
It really does. What's exciting here is that push towards modular, local energy. These microreactors are one piece. But you also see other things, like Arbor Energy. They're building a plant that burns waste biomass.
Like wood chips and stuff.
Yeah, but get this.
Yeah.
It generates electricity and removes CO2 from the air at the same time. Carbon-negative power, basically.
Okay, that's clever.
And then there's that almost accidental discovery by a startup called Tulum. They found a way to split methane natural gas into pure hydrogen fuel and solid carbon. No oxygen involved, so no CO2 emissions in the process.
Splitting methane.
Wow. So yeah, all these different angles, microreactors, biomass with carbon capture, clean hydrogen from methane, they're all pointing towards more efficient, more localized, sometimes even carbon-negative ways to power things. It's a really interesting shift.
These innovations are definitely thrilling. Feels like a more, distributed, resilient future might be possible. But let's pivot again. Let's talk about the human side of all this tech.
Right, because behind the algorithms and reactors, it's people.
Exactly. And right now, the tech industry, especially around AI, is in the middle of a fierce talent war. It's intense. OpenAI, for example, is apparently boosting its employee stock compensation up to like $4.4 billion.
Billion. With a B.
With a B. Just to trip and stop Meta, Facebook's parent company, from poaching their top people.
Wow. That's serious money just for retention.
And it's not just abstract numbers. Real people, top executives, are moving. Like Apple's main AI models exec, Ruming Pang, gone to Meta.
Poached.
Reports say Meta offered him tens of millions per year. They're building this superintelligence team, and they're clearly willing to pay absolutely top dollar to get the best minds. Like a high-stakes game of musical chairs.
So what does that mean long-term for innovation, for the companies themselves?
Well, what do you think?
Looking at the bigger picture, it's a flashing neon sign showing where the industry's focus is,
Right.
where the money is going. It's all pouring into the AI race.
Yeah.
These talent raids, they're not just HR issues. They directly impact who has the competitive edge. They can literally change a company's whole innovation pipeline, their strategic direction. It really shows that right now, the brain power in AI is maybe the most valuable resource there is.
And this crazy competition for top talent, it kind of shines a light on a bigger shift, maybe a more unsettling one, in how tech companies relate to their employees overall.
Also,
There's this idea floating around, some people call it the broken Microsoft pact. For years, especially at places like Microsoft, there was this kind of unspoken deal.
okay.
Workers might accept pay that was maybe a bit below the absolute top dollar you could get elsewhere.
Right. But in exchange for?
Stability. Good work-life balance, relatively speaking. And crucially, this feeling that layoffs just didn't really happen there, not like in other industries. job security.
That classic tech giant stability promise.
Exactly. Well, that pact seems pretty broken now. Layoffs are happening more frequently, even at places like Microsoft. And some argue it's become, well, an easier option for management than actually dealing with performance issues systematically or investing in retraining.
That raises some fundamental questions, doesn't it, about the whole relationship between employees and these big tech companies, that perceived stability, that career safety net. Maybe it's not really there anymore, or at least not like it used to be.
Yeah, and the numbers seem to back it up. Hiring for new grads, fresh out of college, and big tech, down 25% apparently. Startups are down 11% too.
So it paints a picture of a more volatile landscape. Even if you've been there a while, you might not be as secure as you thought. It challenges that whole traditional idea of a stable, lifelong career at one of these tech titans. Makes you rethink what a tech career really means today.
And, beyond these big shifts in employment and talent, tech just keeps weaving itself into our daily lives. Sometimes obviously, sometimes more subtly.
It's evolving.
For sure. Like Waymo robotaxis.
Yeah.
They're expanding again, heading into Philly and New York City.
Big, dense cities, that's a major step.
And maybe even more notable, they're launching teen accounts in Phoenix. Kids over 14 can hail their own driverless ride.
Wow, letting teenagers use robotaxis solo. That's interesting. Trust in the tech is growing, clearly.
Seems so. On the gadget front, the Nothing phone got reviewed. The design's still, controversial, lights on the back and all that.
Divisive, yeah.
But the reviews seem to say its AI search features are actually pretty good. Functional, useful.
So AI creeping into hardware in practical ways.
Then you get things that feel super convenient, but maybe a little too convenient, like one text. It's a text-to-buy network.
Text to buy.
Yeah, you literally just reply to a text message to buy something. Like, reply yes, and boom, purchased. Efficient, maybe, but I could see myself accidentally buying stuff just fiddling with my phone.
Yeah, the pocket purchase danger zone.
Definitely. But on a much more welcome note, for your inbox anyway, Gmail is rolling out a new feature. Makes it way easier to manage and unsubscribe from email lists.
Oh, thank goodness, finally. A collective sigh of relief for everyone drowning in newsletters.
Absolutely. So, wow, what a deep dive that was. We've really bounced around today, haven't we? From AI completely changing medicine and weirdly influencing product design.
Yeah, the sound slice thing is still kind of funny.
To totally new ways of connecting without the internet, these new energy ideas like tiny reactors.
And that whole human side, too. The talent wars, the changing nature of tech jobs.
Exactly. The intense battles for people and that shifting ground under employees' feet.
It all brings up a really crucial thought, I think. As all this technology gets woven deeper and deeper into our lives, as it starts to maybe subtly, maybe not so subtly, influence our products, our routines. How do we balance that?
Balance the potential with what?
With the need to be critically aware, to understand at least a little what's going on under the hood. It's becoming more important than ever, right? Especially as those lines blur between what's driven by humans and what's driven by AI.
So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening right now as tech just keeps marching forward, sometimes in really surprising ways? Maybe consider how fast these things move, from concept, like solving all diseases, to actual real-world trials or products.
Yeah, the speed is incredible.
And what does that speed mean for how we think about trust, about control? In a world that's being shaped more and more by algorithms, by automation, by systems we don't always fully understand, how much do we want AI nudging our choices, or entirely new systems changing how we connect, how we power our world?
Yeah.
Lots to think about. Well, thank you for joining us on this this deep dive into the bleeding edge of tech today. We really hope you feel a bit more informed, maybe a lot more curious.
Keep asking questions.
Yeah, definitely. Keep exploring these topics because the future, it's unfolding faster than ever. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.